this. I was supposed to get you one of these about 6 years ago.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
So anyway, 6 years late, but these are the historic Schuster aerial photos from the 1940s. They're available online at the Humboldt State Photograph Collection. Anyway, this obviously shows the town of Samoa, the old mill site. Basically, I don't know if it encompasses all your development area, Dan.
Pretty much. I mean, we go down this way a little ways farther, but yeah.
Anyway, I remember you really liking
Yeah,
this
that is
print
a
back
neat photo,
half a dozen years ago when
Yeah.
we shared it with you. So
Very
anyway,
cool.
there's one for your office wall.
Interesting seeing the dunes coming up. Like
Right.
they are, yeah. Very cool.
Anyway,
Thank you.
enjoy it.
Yeah. That water tank right there is actually going to be rebuilt
Oh, really?
in that spot.
Really?
Yeah,
Excuse
that's pretty neat.
Excuse me.
Awesome. That's okay.
All right, well, thank you guys for having me out here today. So I'm Dan Johnson, president of the Danco Group, and have the fortune of leading about 325 young men and women that work for our organization through lots of different projects that we do. And we're here today to talk to you about probably one of the most exciting projects that we've built, but also one of the longest ones that we've been involved with, which is the town of Samoa. You know, it's a nice small group, so let's make it interactive. I don't want this just to be the Dan Johnson show up here. We have a presentation, and I'll go through basically kind of the history of the town from when we bought it to where we are today, and then talk a little bit about where we're headed with the town and kind of we're at some exciting times with the project that we have. But if you want to stop me at any time during the presentation, just do so. Larry, do you want to push the buttons on the computer?
Yeah.
That way I'll stay back.
That'd be great.
Yeah. All right, so we can go to the next slide. So, everybody knows, so this presentation's a little bit longer than what we're going to do today. I'm going to probably talk to you for about 20 to 30 minutes, and then we'll have questions at the end. So I'm going to skip through a few of the slides just to give you a heads up. This is about an hour presentation that we've given to the Coastal Commission, and it was to a lot of people who didn't know what Humboldt County was. So some of the slides are obvious to you, so we'll just kind of skip them, like for instance, that you know that we're in the Humboldt Bay.
Yeah.
So the next one. This also gives an idea of where it's located on the peninsula, but you all know that. We're up here in the top square on the peninsula, right up in the zone. So this is the project area, which is very similar to the photo that's right here. We go from New Davie Base Road, or the entry right down here that comes in on Vance Avenue. This is the school. Right down in here is the cookhouse where we are now. And then our project goes, it's this black line, and it goes all the way down to what this used to be called LP Drive, I believe. It's been changed now. So the outline of the project, including about 50 acres of dune land out here, it's about a 360 acre development. It's the largest master plan community ever permitted through the Coastal Commission in California. And it is permitted through the Coastal Commission. We have those permits in hand. So the history, everybody knows that this town back in the 1800s is a logging town. I mean, this really spells it out better than anything I could ever say. The visual of it in terms of how bustling of a town it was back in its day. And really our vision is to bring it back to a company sort of town. And you'll see that as we go through the presentation. This is just more on the history. In 1883, back one slide there. Yeah. In 1883, Vance purchased it. Most of all of the mill work that was done by the E.H. Vance and the Hammond Lumber Company. And then in the late 80s, or late 70s, it was taken over by LP, and then bought by Simpson Timber Company, which is who we bought it from. But Simpson Timber Company bought it in an asset sale with LP, and they didn't really want it. LP said, if you want all of our trees, you have to take the town. And so they got stuck with the town, and then they sold it out at auction, which is how we ended up with it. The town, when we bought it, there's 99 historic homes in the town. There's a restored hostelry. I'm sure that many of you have had an opportunity to enjoy the hostelry. It's a beautiful old building. It's still used for weddings, not utilized as much as it could be, but it is utilized quite a bit. Actually, there's a wedding there this weekend. We've got the Samoa Cookhouse. The Maritime Museum is relocated out here. There's a gift shop as part of that. The Samoa Block. There's a post office. We have one of two privately owned zip codes in the country, whatever that means, I don't know, but people seem to think it's cool. And then we have the gymnasium, which is under construction across the way, which many of you might have seen when you came in. We're doing $1 million renovation to the gymnasium. It's just about complete. And we have a business that's going in there, a wellness business that's taking that gym over, and they're going to be doing wellness programs and some basketball things for youth and different things. So that's kind of the beginning of leasing out the assets out here. That's good. There's a wood shop, former gas station, women's club, which again we restored and is utilized very often for different events. And then we have the existing sewer system. So one of the things we had to go through when we did our master plan is tsunami. A lot of people talk about tsunami and they want to know what's going on with tsunami. A couple of quick things on tsunami is, number one, tsunami it's not about the saving of a structure. That's not what the rules and the laws around tsunami safety is. It's about the saving of people. And it's about having a place that the people can go back to after the tsunami comes through the area. Okay, so the homes have to be built in a way that they can allow the people to be able to go back into them. Many of you have probably been to Hawaii and you've seen the homes up on stilts. Well, those homes are built in tsunami zones. And so the homes out here, most of the homes, I was telling Larry this before we talked, most of the homes in the town are above the tsunami inundation zone. We did about $1 million study, I try to say that with a straight face, that was driven by the Coastal Commission for us to do. It ended up costing us about $1 million to determine what the elevation needed to be, what's the worst case scenario of a run-up of a tsunami. So you can imagine the modeling and such that was done by the firm that we hired out of New York actually that did it. And what they determined is that the end height, the finished height of a floor, so this floor, if it was a residential house, would have to be at 32 feet above sea level. So any new structure that's built that houses people it has to be 32 feet above sea level. And that's only if it's a single family house that someone owns that they live in as a primary residence. If it's vacation rental housing, it doesn't have to meet that criteria because, again, they're concerned about there being somewhere for the people to come back to after a tsunami hit. It's not about the safety of someone when a tsunami hits, because there will be, based on where we're located on the North Coast, there will be ample time to notify people of a tsunami coming in that would allow them to be able to evacuate. And plus we have evacuation sites, which is what this map shows. There's an evacuation site right here, which is directly over there where those trees are. And there's another evacuation site, you don't see it on this map, but it's out in what we call the new town. So we have two different evacuation sites. It has to be within 5-minute walking distance of all residential housing. And so the summary there is residential housing that is a primary residence has to be built at 32-foot elevation or above. Most of the town is 30 foot or above now. There's a few houses, about 6 of them, down at the end of Sunset Avenue that are would be below what would be approved today, but they're grandfathered in, and then any new housing we built, though, has to be up. So a lot of the new housing, and we'll be showing you some slides here in a bit on that, are going to be built on the stilts, just like you see in when you go to Hawaii. They'll be built up like that. Okay. So, what we did some studies when we bought the town, we found there was an abundant of opportunities. I won't go through all of these, but it just talks about where it's located and road access. And so we, as we were determining what the highest and best use of the town was. Next slide. These are just views up from the town. These are our design guys that designed our original master plan, kind of sitting out on the beach, looking at the different views and trying to visualize what we would do with the town. There were initial designs that went from resort to tearing everything down to putting in golf courses and hotels and convention centers. There's been lots of different things studied out here through the first few years to have us come in on what was the final design of the project, which I'll show you in a little bit, which in essence is to rebuild what it once was, is what we ended up coming up with, was what is the highest and best use and what would be most supported by the community and what would provide the best opportunities for people to live in the community. This is just another one that talks about cultural resource. You know, it's one of the best examples of a company town remaining in California. There's only 2 company towns left in the United States. When we bought this town 17 years ago, there were 13 company towns in the United States, and there's only 2 left, including Scotia was one of those 13 company towns. And this is one of 2 in the whole country, which is a bit sad in that the times are changing, because when we're done with this project, it will be, again, sold off like what's happening in Scotia, and it will no longer be a company town. There'll be 1 left, and it's in North Carolina. It's an old mill town similar to this. So when we bought the town, the infrastructure that is out here is owned by Samoa Pacific Group, which is the name of the company that owns the town. The Samoa Pacific Group owns all the electrical lines, all the sewer lines, all the water lines. We buy electricity from Pacific Gas and Electric, and then we distribute it out to all of the residences, including this building that you're in. So we are the utility provider to the cookhouse. We come out and read their meter. When their electricity goes out, they call us. They don't call PG&E, and then we sometimes call PG&E, but often it's our stuff that is failed. Most of all the telephone poles and lines that you see in town are all privately owned. We have a shop that's full of transformers and all the supplies to work on the power poles, and we manage that just like a utility company does. We also manage all the sewer lines and the sewer system. It's a permitted system through the Regional Water Quality Control Board today, with plans of upgrading it. And then the water we buy from Humboldt Bay Municipal Water District, just like your city of Eureka does, and then we distribute it and resell it to all the tenants out here. That's the way it is today. When the project's complete, it'll all be like it is in other communities. You heard a presentation I heard a month or 2 ago from the fire department out here that's working to convert into a community services district, and this project is part of what's driving that need, is so that there's a community service district to manage all of that. This is just a kind of a slide that when we were at the Coastal Commission, we talked about historical preservation. Same thing here. The only building in the whole community that is going to get tore down is that fireman's house. It's called the Fireman's Club, right out here in front. That's the only building that is coming down. Every other building that's in the town is going to be restored, and then it will be recorded on the historical register as an historic town. And that was another debate that we had as we went through the process, working with the historical people, was do we save this town, do we not, what's the cost of that, etc. And so the whole town's going to be restored. The cookhouse, interestingly, we're in this room right here. I don't know if I think that's that room out there, but we're in here right now. This is an old, up on top up here is an old brothel. I don't know if any of you've ever had I don't know if any of you guys have had the opportunity of going up there, but in the day, the sailors would come in on the ships, and all the loggers that lived out here, they would eat in here, they would work out there, and they would do what they did upstairs. And it's pretty interesting. I'm sure that Jeff would be happy to let you tour if you never have. There's a staircase right behind the cash register that goes upstairs. And it's pretty cool up there if you go up there, if the walls could only talk. We're going to turn that, as part of our conditions of approval, into a hostel. So it will be a hostel that will be basically for people to, what the Coastal Commission called was low-cost visitor serving. We had to provide a certain number of low-cost visitor serving units in order to get our project approved. And up here will be 20 units, 20 hostel units with a common bathroom and individual sleeping rooms. And so that's part of the plan for the future. Next one. As you can imagine, I mean, as all of you know, I see a lot of faces that have been in this community forever. There's a tremendous amount of challenges with developing here. We have development subject to multiple regulatory agencies. I mean, we have gotten reviewed by 37 different state, county, or federal agencies on this project. I mean, it's been unbelievable. And, the weather's cool, Samoa's relatively isolated, which was a big part of the convention center. There was a lot of community members back, this has started 17 years ago when we started this development, that really were interested in the development of a state-of-the-art convention center with housing. But what we learned as we went through the market study process is there's no way to get people here and get people out in a timely manner that would be coming to a convention. So if we brought in 400 people, let's say, which is not a very big convention, if we brought in 400 people, the majority of those people, based on the studies, usually fly to where they go, and it would take us a week to get them all out of here, based on the number of flights a day that there is. And I know that's a bit of exaggeration, but we can't. You can't get them out of here in 4 hours. And the criteria that the convention companies have is that you can get their visitors in and out in 6 or less hours. So when you look at a convention in Las Vegas that's got 100,000 people at it, they're able to get all those people out in 6 or less hours if they needed to get out. And we couldn't do that with a scalability of size that would make sense for a facility to be built. So we shied away from that. This just talks about the planning. You can see the younger version of myself and Bob Merrill. He looks like a real old man now. This meeting is 17 years ago. There's Lane DeVries. Many of you know Lane. And then these guys are all our engineers and designers that originally designed the project. So we like to always throw that. This is some of those 30 plus agencies that we had to get approvals for and blessings for as we went through the project process. And then basically what we ended up coming up with is a real integrated design process. It was very important for the historical community that the Newtown part of the development, which is all of this part up here, be different than what the Old Town was. As we went through the process, we have put designs together that makes it be distinct, that when you leave Old Town, you'll know you're moving into Newtown. And early on in the development, we were looking to replicate the company town, and then we found, as we went through the work with the historical groups that we dealt with, both locally and out of the Bay Area, we found that wasn't what people wanted to see. They wanted to see a distinct difference. And then downtown block, many of you may know of the downtown block. The cookhouse is kind of up this way. This is all going to get renovated into a town plaza with a downtown center, and this building is going to have a grocery store in it with a gas station, mini market. The post office is going to get relocated into that building, so there's going to be, the post office is right here now, and it's going to end up being in this downtown block where some of you may remember it being a grocery store many years ago.
Yeah, is there still an architectural review on the new portion of the street?
Yes, there is. There's architectural review on the new, and it's a yet to be assigned committee. It has to be appointed by the Board of Supervisors. So right now, the architectural review committee is basically the Board of Supervisors. But ultimately, once the town gets going, they will appoint a committee that will be the architectural review board for the town.
Thank you.
So the existing town, we've talked, you can see it here. This picture kind of stops about right here now. But the existing town, comes all the way out over to here. This is the recycle center that's built out there, and then all the existing houses that are downtown in this area. This next slide, I think, just outlines the buildings that are within the existing town. So we can go to the next one just to kind of get an idea. So Vance Avenue is part of what the first phase is. So we're, again, down here in the cookhouse right now. Vance Avenue is going to get upgraded from the gym all the way out and connect into out by the recycle center. So that is part of what will be in phase one is the reconstruction of Vance Avenue, which includes bringing all of the utilities, the gas and electric utilities, down what they call a trunk line, will come down Vance Avenue and then branch off into the existing town and into all the new developments. So that will all be part of the first phase of the project. A lot of environmentally sensitive habitat. This slide's a little weak on its coloring, but you can see all of these areas up here are environmentally sensitive areas, and we are protecting those. We're keeping our setbacks from those, and there'll be some trail work that goes through them and some interpretive centers. You'll see a slide in a minute that talks about our trail system. This is our new town layout, so this just shows the road structure within the new town, and then this is the road structure within the business park. There's some more pictures a little bit later here that show it a little bit better. This is the trail network, so you can see that there's a number of interpretive, these are all little interpretive centers that are going to be put through it, and this is trails that are going to be built all through the town, and they connect into the tunnel that we have over on this side, and then trail system that goes out through the beach. Again, this property here is all part of the development. It's actually owned by the Samoa Pacific Group. You wouldn't know that. You would think that the community owns it, but in reality, Samoa Pacific Group still owns that beach right out there, including that parking lot that's right there. The county put a parking lot in and never even asked if they could have permission, but that's a whole other discussion.
I might have missed it. Are you in phase one, or when does phase one start?
I'm going to come up to that in a little bit, but I can tell you, well, let me get to the slide because the dates, I don't want to get the dates wrong. So it'll come up here in just a few minutes. So this is a subdivision map. It just looks like a lot of lines, but these are the actual residential lots. These are, every one of these little houses is going to end up being a residential lot. There's a total of about 450 parcels in the community total. Some of which are commercial, some of which are industrial, some of which are residential, some of which are multifamily zoned. And so that tentative map, and I got a slide that will talk about it a little bit deeper in a minute, but that tentative map is being reviewed by the county as we speak. It's been submitted, and we expect to go to a public hearing in the spring of next year on that. We have a new sewer treatment facility that's getting put in right out here in this location, which again, just to locate you, that's the recycle center that's there now. And so there's a new sewer treatment facility that'll be there, which is sized to only serve the county. There's been a lot of discussion about that, we're putting in a sewer treatment plant that's going to allow, growth on the peninsula and allow all this construction. And that's not the case. I mean, the system that we have in play is only to supply the town of Samoa. Now, there is talk, and we are about to be the co-applicant on an application to use the outfall line. The outfall line that the Harbor Commission owns. And so there's a big push right now to get the city of Eureka to use the outfall line. They want us to use the outfall line. And it's a much more sanitary way of dealing with sewer. I'm not an expert on that, but that's what I'm told by the experts. And so we are co-applying, and actually that application is going to probably go into the Regional Water Quality Control Board in the next 30 days to use that outfall line. But the expectation is that it'll take probably 10 years to permit that outfall line. And so we're looking to build our own system and have it up and running, and then potentially hook into that outfall line in the future. And I only bring that up because in case you hear them talk about the outfall line, you know that, yeah, we are looking at that, but it's a parallel process that we're going through. We have an affordable housing project. That's right. This is the sewer again. This is the recycle center, and right across the street from that, we have an 80-unit affordable housing project. That'll be a low-income housing tax credit project, just like many of the other projects that our company has built. This is a map, a little bigger map of that. And there's one more slide that gives a little better visual, I think. The units will look like that. This is a similar look to what some of the housing will look like. So when I say they'll be built on stilts, they'll be built on stilts from a structural perspective, but from a visual perspective, they'll look like that. They won't look like those homes that you see in Hawaii that are just on a pole. They'll look like that. And the key here is that floor of the living area is above 32 feet. The garage doesn't need to be above 32 feet, just the floor of the house. And so the way that we're situated, and you can see that in these cross sections right here as well, just to kind of get an idea, And the way that we're situated here with the dunes out in front of us, we don't have a big concern with what they call power inundation. And power inundation is the thrust of a wave that knocks you over when you go out on the beach. We don't have a big concern about that with a tsunami. It's really flooding is what it would end up occurring. And so that's why they're not concerned with the garages being built, because we don't have a big issue with, you know, that building getting blown away. It's just that the building, the contents will still be there for the residents in the case of a tsunami.
So those won't be breakaway walls or
No,
structural walls?
they'll be structural. They will be built, thank you for that question, they'll be built out of concrete. So the first floors, the garage walls will be built out of block or concrete.
Won't be stop first floor.
Right, but they, you know, they're not, other than being built out of concrete, they're not really anything special about them. So this just goes through some of the past timelines and sort of where we've been on this project. You can see that I won't go through them all, but you know, we bought it in 2001, and the CDP for the Vance Avenue reconstruction. So our big approval was on May of 2012. Okay, so that was a huge milestone for us, and we started working on the Coastal Commission in 2005. So the master plan revision for the EIR was completed in October of 04, and then there were some updates done in 06. But we started in 05, and it took us basically 7 years to get through the Coastal Commission, and we worked on it rigorously. It was 7 years and roughly $6.5 million worth of studies is what we have invested into getting the project entitled through the Coastal Commission. And so this is our kind of where we're going. So this answers that question that came a minute ago, the current timeline. Master tentative map and development agreement is currently being reviewed by the County of Humboldt and the California Coastal Commission. Community Services District, there's a big vote that comes up in November, which they probably talked to you about that. And the reason we say big vote is that the residents of the peninsula basically control that vote. And so we need a 51% approval in order to have the CSD formed. What does it mean if the CSD doesn't get formed, which is a common question that we get? It really doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean the project's dead. What it means is we're going to have a homeowners association out here managing all of this stuff, which is a much less effective way of doing it, mainly because community services districts have the ability, especially in small areas, to get lots of grants and lots of public funds to be able to operate the sewer plant and the water and the parks, and homeowners associations don't have those opportunities. But in the beginning, it really doesn't matter, because everything that is out here is going to be brand new. Every sewer line, every sewer extension to every house, every electrical line, every electrical panel on every house, all the utilities are going to be underground. Every water line, all the way from the other side back over here somewhere is where the water comes from, the other side of New Navy Base Road. Every water line is going to be replaced. So the big thing that community service districts have the ability to get is money for dilapidated systems. Well, they're not going to have a dilapidated system here, because it's going to be, everything's going to be brand new. And they say with the products that are used today that that infrastructure is about a 100-year system. So over the next 100 years, if we end up in a homeowners association, we believe that once the town is formed and the people are living here, that they would have no problem then creating a CSD. People might have hesitation today around a CSD, but we think in the end they wouldn't. And so if it doesn't get approved, it really doesn't matter. I mean, it's going to end up being a homeowners association, but the dues and all of that will operate the same way. Go back to that last slide just one more time. So we're in another. So the other big permit that we're in the middle of is the sewer treatment system. We're getting our sewer treatment plant approved through the regional board. All of these. So the community service district, we expect to be active in the spring of 2018. And then the major infrastructure improvements, we expect that will all come into play. Water, sewer, Vance Avenue, the building of the affordable housing, and the visitor serving amenities will start construction of fall of next year. is sort of where we're at, about a year from now. And then phase one of the existing houses will be ready for sale in the fall of 2019 is our current estimate. So that's the update. That's where we're at. That's where we're at on Samoa. And are there any questions, comments? Yep. Pete?
What type of sewer system would you have initially not predicated on the alcohol sewer? Or
It's basically, as it's explained to me, it's a big septic system. And it's going to be leach fields, but the material, the effluent will be treated to a gray water irrigation level before it goes into the leach fields. So right now, we have a system that's basically a big septic tank and a leach field. We have a settling pond, and then it goes out of the settling pond into a leach field. It's going to be very similar to that, except there'll be treatment in between all of that, and today we have no treatment. Yep.
What do you hope or project that the existing homes will sell for and the new homes will sell for?
The existing houses, if they were selling today, we keep track of it on a yearly basis, kind of try to keep track of where it's at. We think that we would have some homes that would sell as low as $125,000. If I was to sell today, there's a couple houses in there that would sell at that level. And on the high end, we have, well, to take the mansion out of it, there's a manager's house that overlooks the ocean that's over the bridge over here, and that one we think would sell for around $800,000 to $900,000. So that's the range of the existing housing. Most of the housing is 125 to probably 300. Most of it is in that range. So it's going to be basically considered to be affordable housing. And we purposefully are trying to limit what we do to the homes so that it can stay affordable. So we're trying not to come in and replace all the siding, replace all the windows, and go inside and gut every house and redo it and make them $300,000 or $400,000 houses, and then the people that live here can't afford it. And so our real objective is to make it be where the people that are here can buy them. And so really about the only upgrade that we plan to do is new electrical panels, which we have to do because right now they're not PG&E standard panels. New water heaters in every unit because we're putting in a new, for energy efficiency, we have to put in a new water heater. And then, which will be the instant water heaters. And then we have to paint every house. We have to take the lead paint off the homes, which was a condition of approval through the Coastal Commission, which frankly is kind of ridiculous because half the houses in Humboldt County are painted with lead paint. But we've already abated the core houses down Vance Avenue. There's about 28 of them. We've abated those, and we're starting to work on the next phase of them.
And the new ones?
The new ones, if we were to sell it starting today, I would say they would be probably in the low 300s to the high 300s. It's not real high-end housing. It's right now in McKinleyville, an entry-level house. That's sort of where we judge the market because it's the only place entry-level housing really exists in Humboldt County. And they're selling for right around 300, 309. Like the Jim Furtado homes up there. And these are going to they're going to look more like that picture that was up there, but they're going to be similar in finishes and style